Throughout the course of BFDI, the two main producers of the show, Carrie and Michael, have made quite the number of games at least somewhat relating to the show. Whether it's something that's literally considered to be a canonical to the BFDI series, to just a small little game that a teenager made in his free time on his laptop, probably. But with all these games, some are bound to be better or worse than others, for a multitude of reasons. So you know what, why not rank all of them just for the heck of it? Now, how we're going to do this is going to be a little complicated, so stick with me. Ranking these games just by a tier list is obviously not going to be it because 1, I feel like games are far more interesting and more complex to just put them on a tier list, and 2, these rankings are going to be far less opinion based and more reliant on the facts. So how I'm actually going to rank these is I'm going to judge them based on 3 criterias: gameplay, how fun and interesting these games' mechanics and objectives are; visuals, how much attention to detail was put in all 27.6 free pesos of them; and how much I think this relates to BFDI, because again, these games range from being canon to the BFDI series to a fun little side project by Carrie. And if you end up enjoying this video at all, please consider subscribing. As of writing this, we are super close to 5k, and if you didn't know already, if I hit 10k by the end of 2025, I will do something so cool and awesome that it will leave you paralyzed for ages on I reveal. So again, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and on to the rankings.
Hi friends!
Okay, I wish I could have maybe waited a bit longer until this revealed this secret game that barely anyone knows about, but I'm not really surprised by this at all, considering that this is barely even considered a game. It's more of a physics toy. A BFDI physics toy. Forgive me for the awful segue into that, but yeah, coming in last place is BFDI physics toy. This game was created by Michael using JavaScript that was released in October of 2014 after 3 months of development. As you can see by the background footage, unless you're blind, then I apologize. The game has all of the BFDI and BFDIA contestants except David and Dora, but including the announcer. And all of them move through the beautifully designed conveyor belts, and you can also grab and fling them around with your mouse if you want. Now, as you could probably guess, this isn't made to be fun or, well, much of a game at all. There isn't much you could do, and the only real goal I could see myself doing here is using some of this game's many bugs, like the stuck bug, spongy stuck bug, conveyor belt bug, clip through spongy bug, spongy stuck bug 2, spongy stuck bug 3. Okay, what does this spongy's fat ass own like half the game's bugs? Like seriously, how the fuck? But anyways, on to the scores. I'll give 2 in gameplay for the reasons previously mentioned, 7 in relation to BFDI, as I mean, the toys in this game are literally the BFDI contestants, so what do you expect? Though it didn't put at something like 10 due to not having any other connections to the main BFDI series, unlike BFDI 5P for example. And 1 in the visual department. This one is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm not gonna bother with this one. So overall, BFDI physics toy gets a 10 out of 30. Not that bad for being the worst game, and I don't really see how it could have been much better.
Hey, that's not how it goes!
Okay, this is definitely the weirdest game in my opinion, but at number 6 we have Tide Pool. Tide Pool is a game that revolves around navigating this little creature that we'll name Timmy for the sake of this video, and Timmy has to eat the foreign creatures around him to get bigger and become the king of the sea. Now let's see what this game filled with adventure, heartbreaks, and passion has to offer. Okay bro, what the fuck am I looking at? Okay, jokes aside, yeah, this game does not look visually pleasing in the slightest. Like dude, the background is literally just mouse lines, bro. I could do a better background than that in 5 minutes. Okay, here it is. I know it's nothing professional by any means, but would you rather have this as a background or whatever this is?
Hell no.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And not to even mention how far next look in this game. Okay, fine, I'll show you. Okay, but enough of bashing little Timmy for his futile artistic mistakes, because besides that, this game is stupidly fun. I genuinely had a lot of fun playing this, even if the controls are a bit wonky and awkward at first. Once you get the hang of it, it becomes really fun. Even though I've only gotten to level 25 out of 100, I could definitely see myself completing the game one day or another, if this video gets enough support. But enough about the bores, on to the scores. I'd love to give gameplay a 10, but because I've seen this game concept of just being little Timmy getting bigger by eating the inferiors around you, I'll lower it to an 8. Still really fun though. A 1 in relation to BFDI, because the only reason this is considered to be a BFDI game is because of a few of the enemies being based off of BFDI. Just change some of those and this game would have no resemblance whatsoever, so I'll give it a 1. And for the visuals, you already saw me talk about that a bit ago about how awful it was. But if I'm being honest, I could see why designing 100 different enemies could lead to a lack of quality and uniqueness in each of them. So I'll bump up the visuals to a 2. Still bad, but I can respect the effort, I guess. That leaves us with an 11 out of 30, just one more than the last one.
He's being a baby.
Landing at the number 5 spot, we have one of Curry's most popular games of his career that you've probably heard of at some point, and just by that description you probably already know which game I'm talking about. Get to the top although there is no top, or Gigant what was that? Or GTA 10 for short, is a flash game that Curry made way back in January of 2009, a full year before BFDI released. This game is about a yellow stick figure that tries to get to the top of the tower even though there isn't an end at all, as implied by the game's name. So how does a BFDI game, you may ask? Well, that comes down to the many versions this game has. There are over 100 different variations that Curry made to this game, but the one that we're gonna focus on is the BFDI version, added in 2011. This version doesn't change anything gameplay wise, it just lets you change your character into all the season 1 contestants, plus the announcer. Not only that, but it also lets you change the platforms to red dots to this cool little transparent effect. And wait, that's already it? Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, this game doesn't have too much to offer. Though something worth mentioning is that this game has a chance of being actually canon to the BFDI series, because it has been referenced not once, not twice, but 3 times in BFDI. First in BFDI 12, where an announcer is handing out the prizes to the contestants for making the merge. Second in BFB 20, as you can see, GTA tints as one of the apps while Leafy is ordering more air, and most recently in BFDI 12, as one of the posters in the auditorium is a direct reference to the game. Whether this game is actually canon or not is up for the debate, but I personally like to believe that it is. So without further ado, let's get to ranking. I'll give a 6 to gameplay, as it's not really bad or annoying by any means, but the controls feel a little weird at times, and the overall idea of going higher by jumping on platforms was already done by Icy Tower before that, and Curry even admitted to this game being a knockoff version to that in one of his own videos. The BFDI measure gets a 5, as yes, this game does involve the BFDI Season 1 characters in it, but 1, that's just one of the game's many versions, and 2, this game was never made for BFDI, so all in all, a 5 seems pretty fair in my eyes. And for the visuals, a 4. This might seem a bit low, but literally all the assets of this game, except that one white platform, are incredibly basic, and it can easily be done. I mean, one of the platforms is literally blank, like I genuinely thought it was just a bug, but when I checked, it was just fucking invisible. Oh, and the BFDI squares are pretty cool, I guess, so that too. Overall, 15 out of 30, pretty much an average game, and for being one of the first games in here, it could have been worse.
One is still not far.
At number 4, we have perhaps the scariest game of all of these, and probably also the most competitive besides you know what. So judging by the description, you could perhaps already guess that we have the Evil Leafy Maze game at number 4. This game was made by Michael in late 2013 to celebrate Halloween, as seen in the Y option on the title screen. From what I can tell, this game is meant to be a horror game, judging by its unique concept of it not actually being an exit. Your only task is to survive as long as possible, as your player is slower than the speed at which Evil Leafy teleports. That, and the flickering lights that get more and more intense the closer you are to Evil Leafy. And I'd say that isn't too bad of a horror game. However, Michael made a massive blunder while making this game. The lack of any audio whatsoever. Now look, I don't play that many horror games, but in my eyes, the 2 most important factors in a horror game are the visuals and audio, and completely neglecting one of them isn't really a good idea for these kinds of games, or any game for that matter. Now, credit where credit's due, Curry did say that he planned to update the game to have heavy breathing sound effects and a 1 in 1,000 chance of Evil Leafy screeching at you. But of course this never happened, so I won't count that into the final scores. But before I get into that, I want to mention how funny it is that one of the only competitive aspects of this game is losing the game as fast as possible. The current world record is held by Webs at 13 seconds, and if this video gets enough support, again, I'll maybe try to beat this one day. My current record for surviving as long as possible though is 5.5 minutes by immediately heading towards Evil Leafy and barely avoiding her for the next 5 minutes. But enough of that, onto the scores. Gameplay is a 6, the concept is pretty cool for a horror game, but considering that there's a total of 2 things to do in this game, I can't score it much higher than this. 5 in relation to BFDI, because yes, this game does revolve around Evil Leafy, but that's it. You could replace her and the title with anything else and it wouldn't change much, so I think a 5 is fitting, and also a 5 in visuals. Now yeah, this game has the most basic wall design imaginable, and the walls aren't even 3D, that's so easy to notice. But I can appreciate the black pulses and the shadow effect you get from the walls. They're subtle, but add a lot in a way, so I think a 5 is pretty fair in my opinion. Which, I guess it's 16 out of 30 I think, I don't fucking know, I did not write this out. On to our top 3, baby. This sounds like an impressive spot to be in, but considering that there are only 7 games here, this entry barely makes it to the top half. So what is this legendary game, you might be wondering? Well, at number 3, we have Fiery's Candy Bar Adventure, made around the same time as GTA and T. Now, what this game is about is pretty simple. You start off as Fiery trying to open a candy bar, but you somehow struggle severely and end up having to find a match or throw a fit and get the genie to go to the gym and get ripped just to open the candy bar. And the funny thing is that you lose those muscles the second you open the bar, so you pretty much just did that for nothing. But if you actually decide to find match, you can either go to the mountain, in which you end up almost dying by a boulder and have to try again, the bank, where Snowball is, and end up giving a cent to him to open the candy bar, and the pond, where you find match and have to give her half the bar once she opens it. Now, there are a few more options that I didn't mention just now, but that's because they don't lead to any endings and just send you back or to something else. Here's the full images of the game's path if you're interested. Moving on from that, I want to raise the possibility that this game is actually canon to the BFDI timeline, and I have strong evidence to back up this claim. 1. The mountain that Fiery climbs before being chased down is actually the same one that Snowball crashed into in BFDI 1A. And 2, considering that Teapot 15 revealed that TFI was actually canon to the BFDI timeline, it's not impossible to make an argument as to this not being canon as well, as it was made after TFI and uses the same assets. And all that applies to the unfinished version that Carrie fully made too. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that this game isn't the official version, it's just a fan-made finished copy instead. Now you may think that validates my theory, but the unfinished version also has the mountain I was talking about. So not only does my police still stand, but in my opinion, the game probably wouldn't have been that much different from this one, even if it was finished by the Huang twins. But enough of that yapping, onto the scores. I'll give 3 to gameplay, as even though the only thing to do is click buttons, I really like the pick of Path games. It's unique and heavily carried by the Henry Stigman franchise. A 9 in BFDI, as there is a pretty solid case to be made that this is canon to BFDI, and even if it isn't, it's still going to be a lot of points because it's still about BFDI. I mean, just look at the name, little bro. And a 5 in visual, as even if the game's really old and has shown its age, considering how low the bar was set with the games like Tide Pool, this doesn't even look that bad. And the animations are pretty good for the time as well, giving FCBA a 17 out of 30. Pretty good.
I love my thing!
Okay, now I'm going to get a bash for this, but hear me out, okay? Woody's Incredible Journey to the Escape from Eternal Terror, or Witch's Effect for short, is a game that was started in July of 2010 during BFDI 7's release, but was finished in 2013 to give it to Andrew Wong as a gift. This game was given to him via link, but ever since he lost it, it was considered to be lost media for 7 years up to October 2017, where the link was found by problematic Periwinkle Plum. The game itself is pretty interesting too. You are Woody and are trying to avoid the 4 different types of enemies the game has to offer. Fiery, who moves decently quickly but doesn't target Woody and is also quite common. Bubble, who is basically the same as Fiery but a bit slower and rarer. Pin, who is the slowest and rarest out of all of the enemies but targets Woody. And Bloggy, who is the main guy to watch out for, as he gets the fastest, most common, and target Woody as well. When I first played this game, I actually had a lot of fun while playing it. Some of the gameplay mechanics are really cool, like having to press space to jump over trees and having to carefully maneuver yourself across the beach. And the game overall was just a lot of fun to beat. It took me a while, but I cherished every moment of it. And I really don't get why people don't like this game as much, just because the visuals aren't that great. I feel like this game tells a unique little story, and I love it for that. It's way more original than all the others, and it's good in its own way. Nothing else, I think you get the point by now, so let's switch points onto the ranking points. Haha, I get it. I'll give 8 to gameplay because even though it's really fun, it does get kind of boring once you beat it, and the jump to spaces mechanic could definitely use some work. BFDI in it as well, as this game literally revolves around BFDI, but it's also not getting the slightest, so lol. And 3 in visuals, but because yeah, no, the graphics and frame rate suck ass here, no offense, but we all knew it was true, giving Witch of the Fed a 19 out of 30. And now, what everyone was expecting to be a number 1, we have...
Useless.
Yeah, to the surprise of absolutely no one, at number 1 we have BFDIA 5B. This game was made in February of... you know what, no, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna spend another 2 minutes talking about BFDIA 5B when most of you probably already know what it is and why it's in first place. If there were 3 things I could say about BFDIA 5B, is that the player switching mechanics is very cool, these 3 characters are the GOATs, and I hate this stupid background music that doesn't change any time in the game. That's all, onto the scores. 10 in gameplay, as the mechanics are all very creative, 10 in BFDI relation just because... Are you serious? And a 7 in visuals. It's good, but the platforms get bland after a while. 27 out of 30, it wasn't even close. And that's it. Were you mad that I didn't include BFDI branches? Because if you are, then don't worry because I'll make a video about it someday. Don't know when, but if you want to see it, then, you know, subscribe with the bell on, and maybe hit the like button. Yeah, I'm gonna be completely honest here, this outro sucks ass right now. I'm not even gonna continue it. Bye!